What's good, everybody? It's your boy Jo3.b.1 here for another episode of Taungsdays. Am I right? Live right here on the Fan Force Alliance channel, and also going out across my channels as well. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late getting started, but we are here, and I hope everybody's doing okay. And since we're doing this live, I'm going to give it a few minutes to kind of let people come into the chat and hang out with us today. So, and I see that we already had Anakin drop by and drop us a comment. Man, I appreciate you for that so much. And I'm very grateful for you and for your support and for everything you do for the Fan Force Alliance channel. It's so important, man, and I really appreciate you. Also, big shout out to the Jedi twins. Make sure you're following those guys for lots of really neat Star Wars, the Black Series content, as well as, like reviews and stuff like that. And then here on the Fan Force Alliance, they do, they like to highlight some underrated figures and do some character spotlight type videos for us. So that's always awesome. And we appreciate those videos from them. Of course, we got Jedi Rogar. And the guy does a lot of great stuff with 3D printing, cosplay. Of course, he's a Black Series collector as well. Has a lot of really great photos and stuff. And then, Ryan Speaks Geek, always on the 3 3/4 inch scale, the retro stuff. And then, of course, our photo challenge correspondent, Jeffrey Alvord. So big shout out to everybody that's a part of the Fan Force Alliance. And to all of our members of our growing community, we appreciate you. If you're not following us in the group, the Hip Hop Jedi, make sure and stop by there to kind of keep up with what's going on as best you can. And of course, you can contact any of us on any of our pages. So now that all that's out of the way, I hope everybody's doing okay today. Today, we're going to chat a little bit about the Acolyte episode from yesterday. And, I have a lot of thoughts. I'm going to share most of those for the Light of the Jedi podcast, which is coming later this week. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of my thoughts on that. And I apologize if I sound a little congested. I was kind of under the weather for a few days. I've been kind of getting better and recovering. And also, since we're running this live, y'all, so it's not going to be perfect. And for everyone that's riding with me, I really appreciate you guys. It really means a lot. And I know we're kind of going live at an odd hour. Some people are probably still at work or trying to get the kids home from school or that sort of thing. So if you're tuning in on the replay, I also want to say I appreciate you guys for checking the video back. And feel free to comment along, I'll try to get to everybody's comments as I can. But yeah, man. So just to kind of give a quick overpass of my thoughts for the first episode, the latest episode of The Acolyte. I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. It was definitely much slower paced, than the last episode for sure. But there was a lot of really interesting storytelling going on. And so definitely pay attention to what's going on there, because they're telling us a lot right now. They're telling us a lot in some of the dialogue, and pay close attention to that. And this episode kind of was definitely more cerebral. It's setting up what we're getting ready to find out. And I believe the next episode for sure now is going to be the truth of what happened on that fateful day on Brendon. Because the setup is real. The setup is definitely real. So, we are getting ready to get, I think, a really great episode full of a lot of action and drama and suspense. Um, and yeah, without sharing any more, I don't want to accidentally spoil anything here, but I did want to at least share that with you guys. I definitely believe this next episode is going to take us to the flashbacks on Brendon. So yeah, but anyways, that's my general thoughts on the episode. And again, we're going to get into that more on the Light of the Jedi podcast for sure. So, and y'all bear with me for a second. But anyways, if you're watching along on the replay, I appreciate you for joining me for Taungsdays Live. This will be a little bit of a longer episode, obviously, and I'll probably go in later and kind of clip some things out. So that way I can post some shorts to Facebook and to YouTube and such, so everybody can take a look at that. So, but yeah, I really appreciate you guys for joining for sure. So some of what I wanted to talk about today, which I guess I should probably put the right banner on, huh? But some of what I was wanting to talk about today has a lot more to do with kind of like last week's episode. And, last week we were talking about remembering the fun of Star Wars. If you guys watched my video, we were checking out some figures and stuff and kind of trying to get back to that. And so a lot of the conversations surrounding the Acolyte as a whole has been like one side saying, their arguments about why they don't like it, which are generally not tied to the show itself. And then this other side defending it, and both sides calling each other not fans of the franchise. And this kind of like blender of misplaced feelings and emotions. And both sides are really kind of a pathway to the dark side. And I mean, it even kind of looped me in a little bit, and really my intention was to always just kind of let everyone else know that maybe observing from the outside, that there's a positive voice about this show, and also that they're not alone in enjoying what they're watching. So I thought that was super important to do. And but in the midst of that, it was kind of easy to get caught up in the emotional side of it. I found myself kind of almost like digging into kind of some more visceral, like negative response. You know what I mean? Like this internal defense mechanism was like jumping, like ready to fight, and in an unnecessary situation. And a lot of that, just comes from my own personal history of trauma and pain, and my desire to put my anger and frustration from that to use, towards something useful, And so oftentimes I try to stand up for some kind of a important cause, like that's important to my heart. And seeing people get bullied over their enjoyment of Star Wars, it's kind of like, nah, man, you're not gonna do that. Jo3.b.1 doesn't stand for that. The hip hop Jedi is not the one, but not realizing that simply by participating that I was kind of helping to perpetuate this thing. And then I had this epiphany moment, And I touched on it on the last episode of not Taungsdays, but on the Light of the Jedi podcast, where at the end I said something along the lines of, don't don't be a part of the darkness. Don't try to fight the darkness. Fight back the dark with more dark. Just light a candle or something like that. And I had been kind of marinating on a similar thought for really a couple of weeks since like episode 3 of Acolyte. Things really started getting heated in a lot of these Facebook groups. I had taken, I had kind of like made a decided effort to like step back a little bit from some of that back and forth, just so I could kind of really think about my feelings, like how I really wanted to respond. And I realized that, the me that I am aiming to be wants to respond by lighting the candle, not by participating in that dark side energy. My and that doesn't mean like, look, I'm just, what I'm saying is I'm not going to go out there seeking a fight, with somebody who is either being purposeful in their divisiveness, or they're the one being duped. And in either case, it's not my job necessarily to teach them a lesson, so much as to let the force do that itself. So it's definitely kind of a touchy subject, right? Because everybody's allowed to like what they like. And I think that's kind of the point, and to dislike whatever they dislike, right? And I think that's kind of the point. But when it comes to basically attacking a singular individual, because to some degree they represent in your mind an avatar of this thing you're so mad at Disney about, or Star Wars about, or other subjects about. And that being the case, that should let you know right there that the problem is not the person, the individual that you're pointing your, whatever you want to call it, and which is your effort to control the situation or convince somebody to be on your side, or to simultaneously show the rest of the internet who thinks like you just how serious you are about it, But at the end of the day, we all really like Star Wars, and that's kind of the most important point, man. And for the ones that want to kind of keep perpetuating this negative back and forth, all I've got for you guys is just kind of more enthusiasm, more happiness, more joy about this franchise that I'm really enjoying so much. So that being said, I wanted to touch on that a little bit on this week's episode. And I will say that I've noticed like the temperature of some of those conversations have started to come down. And there's going to be people, no matter what, that have a problem with parts of every fandom, and that's okay. But, let's agree to stop, attacking each other, and get back to having fun conversations about, oh, what if Anakin did this, or what, like, let's get away from all the nastiness and ugliness between one another, right? But now that that's out of the way, I did want to touch on something when it comes to collecting the Star Wars Black Series, and that is that it is really fun to collect figures, obviously, but something that you don't think about is like collection maintenance, right? And I've got a bunch. I mean, a bunch. I if I adjust my camera, it's going to throw things out of whack. But there's probably 30 figures on my desk right now because I've been kind of cleaning and dusting, reorganizing the collection. I mean, I've got Malik down here and Malgus. I've got I've got Vader, Duel's End. I just dropped a saber on the ground. Of course. And, you know, Stormies and Georgie and a bunch of other Hu Yang. I've got a bunch of figures down off the shelf because I've been cleaning and organizing, which is a very necessary part of the collection process. So a lot of times, you know, when we get busy with work and stuff, we might put off kind of organizing and setting, you know, getting things set up. But it's one of the things that actually kind of brings me a lot of joy about collecting is when I do finally get a day where I can take a few figures down, mess with them. And today, before the show and after the show, I'm going to finish my what I'm working on. And hopefully over the next, between today and tomorrow, I can get through my whole collection, get them all clean. I've got Balin down here. I had even soaked some of them in like some water with like 2 little just small drips of Dawn dish soap. And just let them soak, and it's a trip, man. Like we don't smoke in my house, we don't do none of that, and these things, you know, just the dust and all the little crevices you can't get to with the air duster, you know. And it's crazy how much different they look. But anyways, I appreciate you for watching. If you're here, definitely stop in, drop a comment, let me know how you're doing. This is Taungsdays, Am I Right? Live. And here in a minute, I might play a little video or something to kind of promote. I don't know if I actually have the video on here. But, you know, when it's a live show, you never know what might happen, and that's the exciting part. I've got Cad Bane down here, too. The new one and the Clone Wars one. Oh, and I do have the Rebels one over there. I need to do that one, too. But honestly, yeah, you don't really notice like how in all the little joints and crevices and stuff, you know, they still collect a lot of dust and whatnot. So even after you dust them off with the air can or something like that, you know, it ends up still pretty dingy. So you gotta like dunk them in some, you know, that's what I did anyway, like just 2 drops of Dawn in like in a gallon of water, and just kind of let them soak. Honestly, I didn't really scrub them or anything crazy like that, and it lifted everything out of there in like a minute or 2, and then set them out on the desk to dry on a towel. But yeah, I was going through some of these and looking at some of my stormtroopers and rethinking, and now I've got a plan for my next setup. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set up on the top shelf of my bookshelf. I'm going to do an Imperial row on one side of the shelf where it's like some stormtroopers, maybe the Sith Royal Guard, the Imperial Royal Guard, maybe Tarkin, the Emperor, and Vader, kind of on one side. And on the other side, I want to set up like maybe like the Inquisitors and like some of my, I've got, you know, Shadow Squadron set and some of those troopers and stuff in black. So I thought that would be kind of cool to have on that side, all those guys in black, and it'd be nice side by side, having all the stormtroopers and Palpatine and all those guys on one side, and then having that kind of color difference on the shelf. I thought that would look pretty cool. And then I might kind of mix them up, but my plan was to just have like a setup with it. It's like an Imperial setup, basically, like straight up stormtroopers and all those guys. And then I'm thinking I'm going to do like a straight Jedi shelf, or like kind of Jedi slash, I mean, it might have to be all Jedi. And then doing a, probably put all the dark side people with like the Imperial shelf maybe. And then doing a Clone Wars era type of shelf where it's like, I've got, the Anakin. I don't have that era of Obi-Wan, but I have one that I made. Got Padme, little Annie. So I could do like kind of that sort of thing. And then I kind of want to theme out some shelves because I have it's been a year now. I had like the Heroes of the Republic, the Enemies of the Republic, the Book of Boba Fett shelf, my Bad Batch shelves, my Dark Side Legends shelf, and like I kind of want to like shift all those around. So if you're watching this video back later and you have some ideas, feel free to shoot me a comment. And if you're not 100% familiar with my collection, it's most of it's posted. I've taken lots of pictures and lots of video. But yeah, I figure with I'm kind of torn on doing the Clone Wars era shelf because I know I'm gonna have to use some Jedi for that, and then is that gonna leave my Jedi shelf like too sparse? And that's kind of the problem that I get into when I start going to reorganize the collection. Is I'm like, what? How am I going to do this in a way that is aesthetically pleasing and makes sense? And so where I'm like displaying my favorite figures like towards the front, and like some of the ones that are mostly like filler or background characters like towards the back, and sometimes I don't like to think about that too hard, but since I have a little bit of a plan, I'm hoping that once I do that Imperial row, or that if I do end up making the whole Imperial shelf, hopefully that'll kind of inspire me and inform the rest of my decisions, because more shelves will be opening up and different figures will be moved around. It's just like the Separatists. Like I have Dooku and Asajj and the B1s, and then the Super Battle Droid and the Droideka, and then I have like do I then go ahead and throw some of the other bad guys from the Clone Wars, or do I keep it the Separatist guys all together? So I've been kind of thinking about that. Like, how am I gonna, like, what direction am I gonna go with those figures, So, and then I have this concept set, which is really cool. They're real close by here, and I showed them off on the last one. That was the Taungsdays episode last week. But I've got this concept set, and so I've been thinking about like, what am I gonna do with these guys? And now I have them set up. I have these patches like from A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. I have this kind of this other era, or what do you call it, the Knights of the Old Republic era, and what else do I have? Oh yeah, the Jedi Knight patch. Oh, and then I have the Ice Cube sticker from the Jack in the Box thing, the promo that they were running. But anyways, so of course, like I said, I'm gonna be working on my collection, my setup, my display, And basically keep an eye on my YouTube and my Facebook pages, because I'm going to be posting like, you know, video and photos and stuff of like some of my progress, maybe taking a look at some older figures that we haven't looked at in a while, just to kind of remember like some of the great ones. Like whenever this mall came out, I remember everyone was so excited because we did not have a mall anywhere near this good in the line. The original one wasn't great, and this one, I mean, you know, I don't know. We were super. I remember I was excited to get this, and then of course, you know, we got the Clone Wars Mall and the uh, Old Master version of Mall, which I think Old Master is my favorite. Clone Wars also. I mean, they're basically the same figure, but slightly different. The face is a little different, and the outfit's a little different. But I think those are my favorite malls for sure. Yeah, I remember getting this from GameStop a while back for like $12 or something. I think it's still in my purchase history on there. But yeah, this one's sweet. You know, Stormtrooper with the holster. Let me know in the comments if you guys have this one in your collection or not. I know it's on that old Stormtrooper body, but yeah, I remember getting this and being super excited about it. So the next thing I kind of wanted to touch on for Taungsdays, and pretty much after that, we're going to be ready to wrap up. So I appreciate everybody who's joined in for the show. But, you know, coming up, we're going to have, we've got a new series coming up, and then we've got several new movies and stuff that have been slated. And I'm really curious to see how much of this is going to continue to tie together. Like, I'm wondering if the new, which I cannot remember the name of this series. It escapes me almost every time I try to talk about it. Goodness gracious. The one about the pilots and all that stuff that's getting ready to come out. I think it's coming out around Christmas of this year or something. But, you know, we're going to kind of have a series or a movie or something, Star Wars, coming at us continually for the next couple of years at least. And I know a lot of people have concerns about Star Wars fatigue, in the same sense of like Marvel. You kind of get worn out on Marvel, or some people did. But I think the trick to that is Star Wars is one of those properties where it's like they have a variety of material out there. Some stuff for little kids, you know, it's all really for kids at the end of the day, but some of it is geared towards a more grown-up audience, especially like Andor. You know, some more type cerebral stuff, and then this show, The Acolyte, very suspenseful, brutal at times, you know. So like they're trying to appeal to different audiences, and that is one of the beauties of Star Wars, is that it's become such a large property that we can all enjoy some aspect of it, and we don't all have to love all of it. So if you're an OT guy, you can rewatch the original trilogy as much as you want and relive those memories as often as you want. If you're a prequels person that really didn't grow up watching the original trilogy, but you got introduced to it with episode 1, there's nothing wrong with that. Those are great movies too. I love all of those. If you're somebody who came into it with The Mandalorian because one of your friends was like, "Hey, you got to check this out. It's like a Western showdown type show, but set in the Star Wars universe. You got to check it out." And they got you hooked on it. Guess what? It's cool if you're just really like super into The Mandalorian, Grogu. It's cool if you still call Grogu Baby Yoda. None of that really matters that much, honestly. None of it really matters that much. And I think sometimes the so-called super fans get a little bit out of hand with their criticisms, you know. And for those of us that really just want to enjoy it, the only way that you can fight back is rather than getting into a comment battle with them or whatnot. The best thing to do is just to keep on enjoying what you like. And I just highly, highly, highly recommend that, you know, and to keep sharing what you like about it and why, you know. And I will say there are some people that we're going to find over the next 5 to 10 years or so that came into Star Wars on the sequels, and they grew up with Kylo Ren and Rey and Finn and all these other characters, and that is their introduction to Star Wars, and that is what they care about. That's what they get hyped about, and that's okay, man. Let them enjoy that, you know. And I happen to be one of the ones that enjoys almost all of it, you know. Not a big fan of the holiday special. It's funny, but I'm not a big fan of Visions. You know, it's good. I watched it. It's okay. But everything else I've enjoyed quite a bit. Book of Boba Fett, I didn't understand why everybody didn't like it. You know, Mandalorian season 3, I didn't understand. I liked it. You know, I enjoyed it. I didn't, you know, I don't know. It was just good. It was good enough for me, you know. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day here on Taungsdays. Am I right? We're running at about almost 40 minutes, which is longer than any episode so far, I'm pretty sure. I do appreciate you joining us today. Definitely come by the channel. You can follow me, Jo3.b.1, just as you see it on the screen there. And you can find me on all the streaming platforms for music. And you can find me on, you know, mainly Facebook and YouTube, but starting to try and get myself on Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that more. So definitely check me out there. Might help encourage me to get on there more. And yeah, come give us a follow. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys. Again, much love. May the force be with you. Another Taungsdays. We got it, y'all. Much love.